Good morning, comic book fans! Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-living host, Shorty, and this is a book that I'm going to be reviewing called Strangeness, which has a lot going for it, very specifically if you're me. For a start, it's worth pointing out this is a kind of anthology. It's a Spectrovision thing that Omni Press is doing, and I really like the idea of this kind of anthology. I've said before, I think sometimes I can have a lot of fun with the portmanteau kind of thing, or just a bunch of random stories thrown together for the sake of it. But what I really find myself enjoying at the moment is this thing where you've got a core idea running throughout it, and then you bring in different creators to do what you want to do. Start with the core idea of this one is the High Strangeness, which is this interconnected series of conspiracy theories. And don't get me wrong, I am not a believer of conspiracy theories, particularly not about the way most people think of alien invasions or alien visitations. Mostly, I think, yes, it is practically impossible to imagine that we are the only intelligent life in the universe, but the idea that there may be some shadowy cabal in the government stopping people finding out about it makes me frankly laugh, because these people can't even stop people going bankrupt because of healthcare reasons, or, keep fascists out of stuff. Like, they're practically incompetent. But I will say, without spoiling anything, this particular story, although dipping into some kind of territory that Department of Truth does, and it's very hard to talk about alien visitation conspiracy theories without mentioning Department of Truth if you're talking about comic books, it goes down some routes which are recognisable because they are fairly common conspiracy theories, but it does nice little twists within, little subtle variations in what we'd expect to see in this kind of story, enough that makes me go, oh, okay, so this isn't what I thought it was going to be. It's close, and it's interesting that it is. I mean, it's not like I dislike Department of Truth, because that's also about alien conspiracies, but it does more interesting things than just this idea that there is people in government who are better at doing this than they are every other aspect of their job. Throw that into the mix with two absolutely amazing creators, and you've got me on board. I really do like Chris Condon, to the point that I have had, in the middle of conversations about general comic book stuff, friends of mine just be like, you really like Chris Condon, don't you? And it's like, yeah, I kind of do. I don't want to say everything he's done has been golden for me. I think he's more fun to read when he's not in somebody else's sandpit. I think the closest I can say to one of those things where I'm still genuinely getting on it is this Ultimate Wolverine. I think a lot of that is down to the fact that it's an Ultimate book and has a little bit more freedom. Yes, there's still an overarching plot idea and there's still editorial controls, but when you look at the mainstream Marvel or DC universe, there is far more fun to be had in the Absolute and Ultimate, and I think Condon does that quite nicely. He has a lot of fun still within it, but he can very much colour outside the lines because of the fact that it's an Ultimate universe. He is also a fantastic writer in terms of pacing and character, and the main character in this book, the one we're following, an investigative journalist, is brilliantly realised, fantastically flawed in interesting ways. He is not even close to being like a villainous character, not an anti-hero, nothing like that. He is just a person doing a job, and he has flaws and failings. He has his own personal ideals he doesn't live up to, and also expectations placed on him from outside things. He's doing his best by his own standards, and that necessarily isn't great, but it makes it interesting. It gives him depth. It gives him reasons to sympathise and empathise with him, even through his failures. And when he gets into the nature of the conspiracy and his interactions with the people involved with it, his relationships, both professional and personal, every single aspect of it feels wonderfully realised and well written. You throw into the mix of that Dave Chisholm, and I'm absolutely going to be getting it. Now, Dave Chisholm is an artist that I've only really discovered like a handful of months ago, reading Plague House issue 1, and was absolutely blown away by his art. I absolutely loved it. It is a fantastic comic book. It plays around with form and colouring so effectively that at certain points the pacing was so well done that there's jump scares in comic books. He does this thing that I love in horror movies where you should be paying more attention to open doors and open cupboards, reflections and mirrors and windows, all the kind of stuff which is where those creepy little things which aren't quite what you expect, but they are there. This is what he does in this comic book as well. Not so much as obviously that he did with Plague House, where he had a bit more freedom to play around with the horror, but he does play around with form in interesting enough ways to throw you off kilter, just slightly odd angles here and there in his framing and his guttering, and you realise that what you're seeing might not be what you're supposed to see, and your experience of it, your perception of it not being right, is part of the story. It does add to it, and it's done brilliantly because he's also just genuinely great. I made a comment a while ago when I was talking about Plague House, how I wasn't sure if he just had really, really good digital tools or if he was manually colouring with, I think, coloured pencils, and he clarified he does this entire thing by hand, and that adds so much more to it. It feels organic, like somebody cares far more about it than just pressing a few buttons and making the colours happen. Genuinely fantastic creative team. I'm not 100% as on board with the next creative team coming in for it, but I like this one enough of what it set up and where it's going that I'm absolutely willing to give it a shot. Daniel Noah has set everything up in motion. He's the creator of it, and then he's handed the reins to the people. Brilliant idea. Can't wait for more. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.